Grant, one of the questions we get a lot is the concern for long term care, nursing home, dementia, incapacity, even though you're still physically here. Sometimes we have loved ones that we have to step in for and take care of their affairs. Can you talk about why it's important to plan for that? And in that planning, how is that handled um, as far as, making sure that all of their affairs are still intact?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and we've had discussions, in the past about the financial side of that. But I think a great way to prepare for again the uncertainty of your future health is, and this would require meeting with an attorney, and I think it's something that's generally advisable for everyone. But there are some simple approaches you can take that can give you a lot of peace of mind when it comes to the potential for loss of capacity later in life. One of those is simply meeting with an attorney to have all those estate planning documents drawn up. If you're doing one, I would say update all of them, ensure that your last will and testament is updated. But to address your question specifically, if you're updating your will, it's a good time to have your attorney draft you a durable power of attorney as well. Um, both that and the healthcare power of attorney. You may ask about a medical directive as well, but the durable power of attorney and the healthcare power of attorney ensure that someone can act on your behalf if you lose capacity. There are different ways those can be structured. They can be effective immediately when you sign. They can be effective. They can be springing powers of attorney where they come into where the authority comes into place only upon your incapacity. But those are a great simple tool to ensure that your spouse or another person you trust can act on your behalf if you're unable to do so. A more advanced and potentially more effective tactic would be a revocable living trust. This requires a little bit more work on the front end. You have to have an attorney draft a trust agreement, generally, retitle your property in the name of the trust. But you're typically the initial you yourself are typically the initial trustee of this trust. But then if you became incapacitated, your assets are in the trust. A successor trustee, again, someone you trust, someone you know, your family typically, or a corporate trustee, would step into that role of successor trustee to care for you, utilizing the assets that you've placed into that trust. So I think, and this is a growing concern. You have longevity issues, that you see trending. So I think, if you're concerned about longevity and or capacity, or loss of capacity, the first step that's fastest and easiest, ensure that you have a valid power of attorney document in place. And then secondarily, if you want to discuss with an attorney a more advanced tactic, a revocable living trust is a great solution.
Yeah, I think for most people, and we deal with this all the time, being in the trust department, because we're not just looking at numbers all the time and building financial plans. We're also helping with estate planning, and we're being administrators for. We're sometimes in the capacity of an executor, sometimes we're in the capacity of the trustee of the trust that's being created. Sometimes we're in the capacity of both. And most people think whenever they come in and they say, "Hey, I have a will, I'm covered." They think that there's no other documents that they need to have in place, even though they're still alive, that would protect them. And what your point is that, with this durable power of attorney or financial power of attorney and a medical power of attorney and HIPAA releases, all of these types of documents are very critical and play a crucial role even while you're still living in order to protect you financially, medically, property, investments, cash, debts. All these are very, very important to have, even though you are still with us physically.
Yes, it's an important delineation you made that the will is only comes into effect after you pass. Of course, the power of attorney is only effective while you're living. So a loss of capacity issue would very much be dealt by a power of attorney, or a revocable living trust. But I like the distinction you made in planning for the current and then after your
Yeah.
passing.